No one warns you about this. Life won't break you physically first. It attacks your mind. And if your mind is weak, nothing you build will survive.
Mental strength is non-negotiable.
There comes a moment in every life, quiet, unannounced, often unnoticed, when the world stops asking what you want and starts demanding who you are. Not who you pretend to be when the lights are on, not who you explain yourself as in polite conversations, but who you are when the pressure tightens, when comfort disappears, when excuses run out. That moment is where mental strength reveals itself. And here's the truth most people never confront. Mental strength is not optional. It is not a luxury reserved for the gifted or the lucky. It is non-negotiable. Without it, talent collapses, opportunity evaporates, dreams decay into regrets. The world does not break people, it exposes them. Pressure does not create weakness, it reveals what was never fortified. And every era has its proving ground. Ours is faster, louder, more demanding than any before. Distraction everywhere, validation on demand, comfort at the tap of a screen. Yet strength, real strength, has never been built in ease. Dale Carnegie understood this long before modern chaos wrapped itself around our lives. He saw that success was not a matter of brilliance, but of inner control. The ability to govern thought, to discipline emotion, to respond instead of react, to stand firm when the mind screams for escape. Mental strength begins where complaining ends. Most people exhaust their energy fighting reality. They argue with what is. They resent obstacles. They curse delays. They see hardship as an injustice instead of an initiation. But the strong mind understands something fundamental. Resistance is not punishment, it is training. Thomas Edison did not curse the darkness, he studied it. Night after night, failure after failure, he trained his mind to see progress where others saw embarrassment. He did not collapse under repetition because he had already decided, long before the outcome, that quitting was not an option available to him. Mental strength is a decision made in advance. It is the silent agreement you make with yourself that no matter how uncomfortable the process becomes, you will not betray your future for temporary relief. Weak minds negotiate with discomfort. Strong minds absorb it, analyze it, and move forward regardless. Look at Abraham Lincoln. Loss after loss, election defeats, personal tragedies that would have crushed a lesser spirit. Yet his mind did not fracture. Why? Because he anchored himself to purpose. A mind connected to something larger than itself does not crumble easily. Purpose fortifies the psyche. It gives pain a direction. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. With purpose, discipline becomes devotion. Mental strength demands clarity. A blurred mind cannot stand firm. When you do not know what you stand for, everything knocks you down. Winners define their values early. They choose their standards deliberately. They decide what behavior is acceptable and what is not long before temptation arrives. Henry Ford did not build an empire by reacting to the market. He shaped it with vision. He knew what he was creating even when the world laughed at the idea. Mental strength allowed him to endure mockery without internalizing it. Criticism only destroys those who secretly agree with it. Here is a law you must engrave into your thinking. You cannot control the world's noise, but you can control the volume you give it in your mind. Mental strength is selective attention. It is knowing what deserves your focus and what does not. It is refusing to allow every opinion to rent space in your head. The modern world feeds weakness by overstimulation. Endless comparisons, endless commentary, endless distractions designed to fracture attention and soften resolve. The strong mind resists this pull. It chooses silence over noise, depth over speed, mastery over novelty. Discipline is the daily proof of mental strength. Not dramatic acts, not heroic gestures, but small, repeated decisions made without applause. Rising when motivation is absent, continuing when progress is invisible. training the mind to obey commands rather than moods. Walt Disney faced bankruptcy, rejection, humiliation, but his imagination remained disciplined. He protected it, he fed it, he refused to let bitterness poison creativity. Mental strength is emotional regulation, the ability to feel deeply without being ruled by feeling, to experience fear without surrendering to it, to acknowledge doubt without submitting to it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear decide. Every setback tests the same question: will you interpret this as a verdict or as data? The weak mind personalizes failure. The strong mind studies it, learns from it, adjusts, moves forward smarter. Resilience is not stubbornness, it is intelligent persistence, the capacity to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing identity. Gratitude sharpens mental strength in unexpected ways. A grateful mind cannot be easily defeated. When you recognize progress, however small, you reinforce momentum. Carnegie emphasized appreciation not as politeness, but as power. Gratitude trains the mind to see resources instead of limitations. It shifts focus from scarcity to capability. Mental strength also requires humility, the willingness to learn. A closed mind is a fragile mind. The strongest individuals are perpetual students. They seek refinement, not validation. They ask better questions. They accept correction without ego. Growth demands openness. And now understand this: mental strength compounds. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, clarity over confusion, action over hesitation, you are building an internal infrastructure that cannot be taken from you. External success may fluctuate, but inner stability becomes unshakable. The world rewards those who are internally consistent, those whose thoughts, values, and actions are aligned, those who do not need constant reassurance to continue, those who have trained their minds to stand alone. Mental strength is not loud. It does not announce itself. It simply endures. It persists. It builds. And over time, it separates those who wish from those who become. This is not about perfection. It's about commitment. The refusal to abandon yourself when things get hard. The courage to stay the course when temptations tempt you. The understanding that comfort is temporary, but character is permanent. And when the storms arrive, as they always do, the mentally strong do not ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this here to teach me?" They do not beg for easier lives. They build stronger minds. Because in the end, circumstances bow to those who have mastered themselves. And mental strength, once forged, becomes the foundation upon which everything else stands.
And that foundation must be reinforced every single day. Because the mind, left unattended, decays. It grows soft. It seeks ease. It looks for permission to stop pushing. Mental strength is not something you build once and keep forever. It is a discipline you renew daily, like sharpening a blade that dulls with use. The strong mind understands this and trains accordingly. You do not wait to feel ready. You do not wait for certainty. You do not wait for confidence to arrive like a gift from the outside world. Confidence is forged after action, not before it. The mentally strong move first and allow belief to catch up. They trust that clarity comes from motion, not contemplation. Most people overthink because they are afraid to commit. They analyze themselves into paralysis. But strength lives in decision. Even an imperfect decision moves you forward. Indecision keeps you trapped. A strong mind would rather adjust direction than remain motionless. This is why mental strength demands ownership. No blaming circumstances, no blaming childhood, no blaming timing, no blaming other people's advantages. Responsibility is power. The moment you accept full responsibility for your thoughts, reactions, and actions, you reclaim control. Victimhood weakens the mind because it teaches helplessness. Ownership strengthens it because it demands response. Carnegie believed deeply in this principle. You cannot change others, but you can always change yourself.
And the strongest individuals stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable. They invest that energy into mastery of their own inner world. Mental strength is patience under pressure. Great things are slow to build. Character is slow. Mastery is slow. Trust is slow. But weakness wants instant relief, instant results, instant validation. The strong mind understands the power of delayed gratification. It is willing to endure boredom, repetition, and uncertainty because it knows that all meaningful growth compounds quietly before it becomes visible. This patience is what separates those who start from those who finish. Look closely at history and you will see the same pattern repeated. Those who changed the world were not always the most gifted, but they were the most mentally anchored. They endured seasons where nothing seems to work, where progress was invisible, where doubt crept in late at night, and yet they continued. Why? Because they had trained their minds not to seek comfort, but direction. Mental strength is also solitude, the ability to stand alone with your thoughts without distraction. Weak minds fear silence because it exposes insecurity. Strong minds use silence to think, to plan, to recalibrate. They do not need constant stimulation to feel alive. They are comfortable in their own presence. This is why the strong protect their routines, morning disciplines, focused work blocks, physical training, reading, reflection. These are not habits of obsession. They are systems of stability. They reduce decision fatigue. They remove chaos. They create a framework in which the mind can perform at its highest level. Physical discipline reinforces mental strength. The body and mind are not separate. A weak body drains mental resilience. A disciplined body sharpens it. When you push physically, you remind yourself that discomfort is survivable, that limits are flexible, that the mind does not break when the body is tired, it adapts. Mental strength is tested most when recognition is absent, when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, when progress feels thankless. This is where most people quit, not because they are incapable, but because they expected external motivation to carry them. The strong mind is internally fueled. It does not require constant affirmation to continue. Walt Disney faced years of obscurity before success. His vision sustained him when the world ignored him. The mentally strong do not need immediate proof that they are right. They are willing to be misunderstood while building something meaningful. Adaptability is another pillar of strength. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Flexibility survives. Mental strength does not mean stubbornly clinging to failing methods. It means holding firmly to purpose while remaining open to better strategies. The goal remains fixed. The path evolves. Learning is non-negotiable. The moment you believe you have arrived, you begin to decline. Strong minds remain curious. They study failure. They seek mentors, books, experiences that expand perspective. Ignorance weakens resolve because it limits options. And understand this deeply. Every challenge you face is shaping your mental identity. Each time you choose persistence, you are becoming someone who persists. Each time you choose discipline, you are becoming someone disciplined. Identity is built through repeated behavior, not self-talk. Mental strength becomes who you are. Over time, the chaos around you loses its power. You become steady, calm under pressure, decisive under uncertainty, focused amid noise. This is when people start calling you lucky, unaware of the years spent building an unshakable inner structure. And the truth is simple. The world eventually yields to those who refuse to yield internally.
Because when the inner world is mastered, the outer world loses its power to intimidate. Circumstances may rise and fall, markets may shift, people may disappoint, plans may collapse, but the mentally strong remain anchored. They do not panic at turbulence, they expect it. They have already trained for it. Mental strength is anticipation without anxiety. You prepare without obsessing. You plan without clinging. You accept that uncertainty is not a flaw in life, it is the price of growth. Those who demand guarantees before moving never move at all. The strong mind understands that progress is made in fog, not in perfect visibility. This is why the mentally strong do not ask for easier paths, they ask for broader shoulders. They do not wish problems away, they become capable of carrying them. Capacity is built by pressure, not comfort. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can endure, not because everything will go right, but because you will not fall apart if it goes wrong. This confidence is earned. It is the residue of storms survived, of nights pushed through, of promises kept to yourself when no one else would have known if you broke them. Self-trust is the backbone of mental strength. You cannot lead yourself or anyone else without it. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is inconvenient, you deposit trust into your own character. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you withdraw from it. Over time, the balance shows. Strong minds are rich in self-trust. Carnegie emphasized sincerity, not as performance, but as alignment. When your inner commitments match your outward actions, the mind stabilizes. Hypocrisy fractures mental strength. Integrity fortifies it. Mental strength also demands boundaries. You cannot be strong if you are constantly available to everyone else's priorities. Focus requires protection. Energy requires stewardship. The strong mind learns to say no without guilt, to withdraw without resentment, to choose depth over approval. This is not selfishness, it is responsibility. Every yes is a trade: time, attention, energy. The mentally strong make these trades consciously. They do not give their best hours to trivial pursuits and leave nothing for their future. They understand that attention is the most valuable currency they possess. Emotional resilience grows when you stop taking everything personally. Criticism is inevitable, misunderstanding is guaranteed, projection is common. The weak mind absorbs every comment as truth. The strong mind filters. It considers the source, it extracts what is useful and discards the rest without hostility. Not everything deserves a reaction. Silence is often strength. You do not need to defend your path to those who are not walking it. Results speak louder than explanations. And while results are forming, restraint preserves energy. The strong mind are not reactive, they are deliberate. Mental strength is also forgiveness, not for others, but for yourself. Holding on to past mistakes weakens the mind by anchoring it to what cannot be changed. Reflection is useful, rumination is poison. The strong mind learns, releases, and refocuses. It does not confuse accountability with self-punishment. Learning accelerates when shame is removed. This is how resilience compounds. Each recovery becomes faster, each setback becomes smaller, each challenge becomes familiar territory. Over time, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once caused panic becomes routine. This is growth you can feel in your nervous system. And eventually, something shifts. You stop seeking motivation because discipline has taken over. You stop chasing confidence because competence has replaced it. You stop fearing judgment because self-respect has become louder than outside voices. This is when life changes, not suddenly, but decisively. The mentally strong do not wait for breakthroughs. They build them incrementally, brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice. And one day, without ceremony, they look around and realize the weight that once crushed them now feels light. Because strength has mass, it has density. It changes how pressure behaves around you. Mental strength is non-negotiable because life will negotiate nothing with you. It will not slow down because you are tired. It will not soften because you are unprepared. So you prepare. You train your thoughts. You discipline your actions. You align your values. You endure discomfort. You learn relentlessly. You adapt intelligently. You persist patiently.
and in doing so, you become someone life cannot easily shake.
You become steady in a world addicted to noise, calm in an age obsessed with reaction, focused while others scatter themselves thin. This steadiness is not accidental, it is trained. Mental strength is repetition under resistance. It is choosing the same constructive thought again and again until it becomes your default. It is doing the boring work when inspiration disappears. It is showing up when applause is absent. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack the mental endurance to stay consistent after the novelty wears off. History quietly confirms this. Edison did not outthink darkness in a single moment of brilliance, he outlasted it. Lincoln did not rise because he avoided defeat, he rose because defeat never convinced him to quit. Carnegie himself understood that influence begins internally. You cannot persuade the world if your own mind is unconvinced. Mental strength is persuasion turned inward. You sell yourself on the long-term vision when short-term comfort tempts you away. You remind yourself why you started when progress feels invisible. You rehearse belief until it becomes conviction, and conviction, once formed, is difficult to break. This is why mentally strong people protect their environment. They are careful about what they consume: ideas, conversations, media, opinions. Not because they are fragile, but because they are intentional. Inputs shape outputs. Feed your mind chaos and it will produce confusion. Feed it clarity and it will create direction. Discipline is the gatekeeper. It decides what enters and what is rejected. It is not rigid control, it is intelligent selection. The strong mind understands that not every opportunity is an obligation and not every distraction is harmless. Mental strength also means embracing solitude. Not loneliness, but deliberate separation from noise. In silence, you hear yourself think. In stillness, you notice patterns. In isolation, vision sharpens. The world's greatest ideas were not born in crowds. They were forged in quiet rooms where someone had the courage to listen inwardly. This is where purpose becomes clear. Purpose is not found, it is clarified through reflection and action. The mentally strong do not wait for purpose to arrive fully formed. They move, test, adjust, and refine. Action reveals meaning. Motion creates clarity. Fear shrinks when faced repeatedly. Avoidance gives fear authority. Exposure strips it of illusion. Each time you act despite fear, you reclaim territory in your mind. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear dictate direction. Mental strength trains courage daily, in small decisions, in uncomfortable conversations, in honest self-assessment, in choosing growth over image. These moments seem insignificant, but they accumulate, and accumulation is the secret force behind all lasting transformation. Momentum is mental before it is physical. Once the mind commits, the body follows. Once belief stabilizes, effort intensifies. Once identity shifts from someone trying to someone becoming, behavior aligns naturally. Identity is the deepest layer of mental strength. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your self-image. Change how you see yourself and your actions reorganize accordingly. This is why affirmations fail when they are disconnected from behavior. The strong mind earns its identity through evidence. Every completed task is proof. Every kept promise is reinforcement. Every resisted impulse is training. Over time, you no longer rely on motivation, you rely on standards. And standards do not negotiate with moods. This is the quiet power few talk about. The power of being internally governed, of not needing permission, of not requiring validation, of not being shaken by temporary outcomes. When the mind is strong, patience becomes natural. Waiting no longer feels like weakness, it feels strategic. And eventually, you reach a point where pressure no longer feels personal. Challenges become impersonal forces to be managed, not emotional judgments to be endured. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What does this require of me?" That question changes everything. Because now, life is no longer happening to you, it is responding to you.
It requires of you the version you have been avoiding. The version that does not complain before it commits. The version that does not wait to feel ready. The version that does not collapse under comparison. Mental strength is the willingness to meet life at its demand, not at your comfort level. Most people spend their lives negotiating with reality, asking it to be easier, slower, kinder, more forgiving. The mentally strong understand a harsher, freer truth. Reality does not negotiate, it responds. And it responds best to clarity, consistency, and courage. This is why clarity becomes non-negotiable. A scattered mind creates scattered results. When your thoughts pull in opposite directions, your energy leaks. The strong mind simplifies. It reduces noise. It decides what matters now and ignores what doesn't. Not forever, just for this season. Winners think in seasons. There is a season to learn quietly, a season to build without recognition, a season to endure without reward, and then, only then, a season where results arrive loudly. The weak mind wants the harvest without respecting the planting. The strong mind honors sequence. It understands timing. It trusts the process not because it is easy, but because it is proven. Look again at history. Henry Ford failed businesses before building an empire. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. These were not confidence stories, they were endurance stories. What separated them was not talent alone, but the refusal to internalize rejection as identity. Rejection is information, not definition. The mentally strong extract lessons without absorbing poison. They listen without surrendering belief. They adjust strategy without abandoning vision. This balance between flexibility and firmness is rare, and it is trained. Adaptability without desperation. Persistence without blindness. That is mental mastery. And mastery requires emotional regulation, not suppression, but command. You will feel anger, doubt, fatigue, impatience. The strong mind does not pretend otherwise. It simply refuses to hand these emotions the steering wheel. Feelings are weather. Direction is choice. When storms arrive, the strong adjust sails. They do not abandon the journey. This is where gratitude enters, not as positivity, but as grounding. Gratitude anchors the mind in sufficiency. It reminds you that progress is already happening even when perfection is not. It prevents desperation, and desperation clouds judgment. A grateful mind thinks clearly, and clear thinking is power. Power compounds. Each day you think with intention, your mental muscles thicken. Each time you respond instead of react, strength increases. Each moment you choose long-term respect over short-term relief, you build an internal reputation with yourself. And self-respect is fuel. You do not need external applause when you trust your own standards. You do not need comparison when you are busy becoming. You do not need reassurance when your actions are aligned. Alignment is peace. Peace is efficiency. Efficiency accelerates progress. Eventually, something subtle shifts.
You stop chasing outcomes and start embodying principles. You act with discipline even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because the strongest battles are invisible and the strongest victories are internal. Mental strength turns effort into identity. You are no longer someone who tries to stay focused. You are focused. You are no longer someone who hopes to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You are no longer someone who wants resilience. You are resilient. This identity does not announce itself. It radiates quietly. People feel it before they understand it. Opportunities respond to it. Challenges respect it. And then, almost without noticing, the world begins to meet you at a higher level. Not because it became easier, but because you became stronger.
And this is where everything converges. Because mental strength is not built for moments of ease. It is forged for moments of pressure. Pressure reveals what training conceals. When life tightens its grip, when plans fracture, when momentum slows and doubt whispers louder than belief, that is when the true architecture of your mind is tested. The weak ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The strong ask, "What is this preparing me for?" That single shift separates collapse from command. Mental strength is choosing responsibility over excuses. It is the refusal to outsource your future to luck, to timing, to other people's approval. It is the understanding that no one is coming to rescue you, and that this truth is not frightening, but liberating. Because when no one is coming, you become the one. You begin to stand differently, think differently, move with intention instead of impulse. You stop waiting for motivation and start honoring commitments. You stop asking for confidence and start earning it through action, through consistency, through showing up on days that feel heavy and unrewarding. The strongest minds are not loud, they are steady. They do not chase validation, they build value. They do not fear solitude, they use it. They understand that isolation is not loneliness, it is incubation. It is where focus sharpens, where identity solidifies, where distractions fall away and purpose speaks clearly. This is where most people quit, and this is exactly why you must not. Because quitting is easy when results are silent, because giving up feels logical when progress is invisible, because doubt sounds intelligent when fear dresses it in reason. But mental strength is the discipline to continue anyway. To work without witnesses, to believe without evidence, to persist without applause. History does not remember comfort, it remembers conviction. It remembers the ones who endured uncertainty without surrendering direction, the ones who held the line when chaos pressed hardest, the ones who understood that mastery is not a moment, it is a way of living. Mental strength means you do not rise and fall with circumstance, you are anchored, rooted, unshaken. Wins do not inflate you, losses do not destroy you. You learn, you adjust, you advance, again and again and again, until momentum bends in your favor. And one day, quietly, you realize something has changed. The things that once overwhelmed you no longer do. The fears that once controlled you no longer speak as loudly. The discipline that once required effort now feels natural. You did not become fearless, you became grounded. You did not eliminate struggle, you outgrew it. This is the reward of mental strength, not ease, but command, not escape, but elevation, not shortcuts, but certainty. You are no longer reacting to life, you are directing it. And understand this clearly, mental strength is not optional. It is not a personality trait. It is not reserved for the gifted or the lucky. It is a requirement for anyone who refuses to live small. Because the world will test you, because comfort will seduce you, because fear will negotiate endlessly. And only a strong mind can say no. No to distraction, no to excuses, no to the voice that begs you to settle. Yes to discipline, yes to growth, yes to becoming the person your future demands.
So stand firm. Guard your thoughts like territory. Choose your habits like weapons. Treat your focus like gold. Because once your mind is strong, everything else follows. Your actions sharpen, your vision clarifies, your presence carries weight. Mental strength is non-negotiable. And now, you know why.
This channel isn't for everyone. It's for those who choose discipline over excuses.